Hello and welcome to the Delusional Boyfriend Book Club, where staying a virgin until you're 30 is wrong. I don't want to be right. My name is Courtney and I'll be your host, and I'm joined today by my reoccurring anime guest host, Val. Val, how are you doing?
Great, especially because I don't get to hear these in advance, so I love the intros personally.
I am so happy that we're covering this story. I'm so happy you're wearing your Cherry Magic shirt because this is absolutely like an all-time favorite series for both of us. Am I right?
Hands down. In fact, I've actually already done this. I did the Straight Guy Tries on my podcast of this, so I was like, another rewatch bet.
But nothing I'd actually rather rewatch. This is such a comfort anime, such a feel-good anime, such a green flag story. It is absolutely one of my all-time favorites. It's crazy to me. I've never read the manga, but have you read the manga? You've read all of them.
I have not read all of them. I've read up through volume 13, but there are actually 16 volumes out, so I'm behind. It keeps going. I thought it was done, but I was like, wait, there's 2 new volumes out? What? And so I'm behind.
That's incredible. I had no idea there were 16 volumes, especially because this anime is such a completed story in one season, 12 episodes. Felt like the source material must be shorter. And I don't know why I haven't read the manga yet. I think I just watched the live action adaptation and got kind of obsessed with that and then never returned to the original source material. So let's run really quickly through this. So this was originally published in 2024, January, you were saying?
So the anime
The anime
in
was
January of 2024. The actual source material started in September of 2018. And then before the anime, the live action adaptation came out in 2020.
2020. And I would definitely say for a live action adaptation, it is great. It's amazing. You guys should go watch it. I really love the characters in it. And I didn't do a rewatch for this episode, but maybe Val, you still haven't watched it, have you?
I still haven't seen it, no.
I feel like we should do a bonus live action on it because it's not on the calendar, but it is so cute. It is so cute and well casted. And I feel like it's definitely worth covering again if we ever want to. And if you guys out there are listening, definitely go watch the live action. Super cute. And we're just so lucky to have this available in so many formats. We've got the manga, we've got the live action, we've got the anime, and you just couldn't ask for more as a fan of the series, right?
I used to call it the trifecta because you get the manga, the anime, and the live action. But I recently learned there's also a Thai drama now and that came out in 2024 as well. So now it's got 4. Whatever the 4 is for trifecta, it's a 4 now.
It's a 4-peat. And then also we just saw with Semantic Error that Semantic Error got not only the novel adaptation, the manga adaptation, the anime adaptation, the live action adaptation, but an audiobook. And that will be the first English audiobook of a BL of a series I already follow that I've ever seen come out. And I have searched high and low. I have listened to Western BLs by American authors on audiobook, and they do not hit the same at all. And I cannot wait to hear this voice acted on an audiobook. So if we got that with Cherry Magic, I would be so, so happy. I would listen to an audiobook for Cherry Magic in my sleep. I would listen to it every day.
Hands down.
Absolutely a peak series. I'm so glad that you guys have joined us for this episode. If you haven't already, rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe over there. Turn on auto downloads if you can. And if you're not following Girls Gaze Animes, go follow them on their YouTube. Follow them on TikTok and Instagram. Also, Girls Games Animes on Twitch, doing tons of playthroughs over there. I'm hoping to join this year for some more video game playing, even though I'm very bad at it. Val always walks me through. So follow all those places if you just want more content of us. We love recording together, and Val is here for every BL anime episode. So if you haven't listened to all of those, go listen to those and get to know Val because she is integral to this podcast. So with that being said, our tropes for this story are going to be green flag, paranormal, which is kind of fun, first time for love, office romance. What other tropes do we have going on here?
For the main couple, the second couple is age gap technically. This one's not. So it's like a twofer, right? Because you've got your main couple and your side couple. So extra tropes, extra romance.
Absolutely. And then for both our couples, we kind of have a cool character and a nerd character.
I was going to say Black Cat Golden Retriever, but yeah, cool character.
We definitely in both couples have a mega nerd. A mega nerd, socially awkward, total mega virgin nerd. And then,
hold on, because he's a nerd, but then Kurosawa also is into the nerdy stuff that Adachi's into as well. He just is less socially awkward, though, to be fair. In his
Yes.
defense.
Popularity wise,
Mhm.
one is very unpopular, and the other one is very charismatic and kind of like the class president type who everyone
Mhm.
loves, very
Prince.
charismatic. In fact, we learned that in the main couple, we have Adachi, who is our mega nerd 30-year-old virgin, and then we have Kurosawa, who is his coworker, basically is beloved by the whole office. And we learned that he kind of also had to struggle to get real respect for how hard he works because people just take his popularity and his face card and say that he kind of has it easy. So really interesting. You're right. They are both into the same kind of manga hobbies, and at their heart level, they're very similar people.
I
Both
was
have
gonna wait
similar
for the meat and
interests.
the potatoes of the podcast to bring it up because it's not like a pet peeve of mine because I normally don't notice when I'm reading BL, but something that I really loved about this that I noticed more so on the rewatch was that like they clearly have stuff in common. Because like a lot of times you see these guys, they just like meet and then they fall in love or whatever. But, like, no, these dudes like actually have stuff in common. Like they have similar interests. And I was like, it makes it feel so much more real. Like it's already the greenest of green flag BLs that you could possibly ever read. But I'm like, that just like added some more reality piece to it. It's like I could actually see them being together. And I love
Absolutely.
that.
And it's a similar thing with our side couple as well. And that has to do with the whole plot of the story. So I'll just give you guys the quickest run through. If you stay a virgin until you're 30, you become a wizard. What that means in this story is that you can read other people's minds, which is a very helpful power for a wizard to have if they're trying to lose their virginity, because it's their first maybe means to understanding the human connections around them in a way where they can escalate that into a real relationship and maybe grow and move past some previous barriers. So we have both couples looking kind of like polar opposites on the outside. And then when you get on the inside, you realize when our fears are known to each other, most of us have similar anxieties, similar hopes, similar dreams, similar self doubt, that kind of thing. So even though in our main couple, we have a really popular office worker and the guy people kind of avoid, and in our side couple, we have a shut in hermit author and a dancer who wants to be an idol. When we can read each other's thoughts, we realize that everyone internally is masking emotions like enthusiasm and excitement for their dreams and the people they like. They're all masking that, trying to play cool or be pessimistic or whatever. But when you break down to the inside, you realize we're all nervous that the things we want won't come true. And we're all nervous that if we get too excited about them, we'll jinx it. And so we tamper that down. And it's really fun when we get to see these wizard characters use their powers to level the playing field and see that even though they're nerds outwardly, these people they're in love with are also nerds inwardly. They still have the same nerdy, cheesy expectations when they're in romantic situations. They are very excited about their dreams and nervous that they won't work out. All of those things are very similar once you break down those walls and can see what someone feels on the inside. And that, of course, is lopsided because the other character in each romantic relationship cannot read their mind back. So I would say miscommunication is a huge trope here. It's just one that I hesitate to say because most miscommunication tropes rub me the wrong way.
Mhm.
Whereas this miscommunication trope is a secret that they're hiding about how well they can understand the other because they're reading their mind. And when do you expose that? And is it okay to read somebody's mind and not rely on them to tell you verbally how they're feeling? So
Mhm.
super fun dynamics and tropes going on here. I would say it's kind of a recommendation you can give to everybody. Do you agree?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And I
Almost
was
no trigger warnings.
no, 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 no. It's like so my very first episode ever that I did of like a straight guy tries series, and it's usually like I make a straight friend try gay stuff. And I was like, all right, off the top, I'm gonna give you four BLs that or yeah, I'll give you 4 BLs and you'll watch them and then we'll get together. And this is one I'm like, no, it's just like so genuinely good. And there was nothing where I'm like, oh, they'll be turned off by this or I'm nervous about showing them that. Absolutely nothing. Like this is like smiles, kick your feet, giggle. Like it's cute, it's fun, the romance. It's like
There's even a
no
little bit of
notes.
spice. There's enough spice to make people like us who love spice happy, not so
Hmm.
much to make anyone uncomfortable who doesn't really like explicit media. So it is the happy medium of all happy mediums. Definitely. Whereas like animes we've covered in the past, like Dakeiichi, we have some forcefulness or some gray area that's being covered. And this one, there's no gray area. As soon as miscommunication is kind of discovered, they work through it really healthy. And it doesn't take away from the fun of the series. It doesn't take away from the romance that, all that healthy stuff is happening. It doesn't feel idealized. It just feels true and natural to the characters. And I really
Mhm.
like that. These are two characters who want to be in a healthy relationship. They're not here to play games. They don't have a bunch of trauma to work through in their past. They truly just have never fallen in love with another person. And they're hoping that their emotions are reciprocated now that they have felt that for somebody.
Mhm.
So, with that being said, Val, will you kind of like take us from the beginning? This is a 12 episode series. Will you take us a little bit from the beginning to the middle to the end? What happens with who?
Yeah, so before I do that, I'm gonna do like a little bit of a lore drop because as we're
Perfect.
talking, I actually noted like this one parallel, and I'm like kind of bad at this. I think we talked about it before. Where it's like I'm autistic, so like making connections. Like if you point out to me, I'm like, oh my god, you're so right. But like sometimes it's like pattern recognition, but whatever. So with this one, it's our second character, like our popular guy. He's always for better or for worse, people it's the don't judge a book by its cover thing. And he's like
Hmm.
pretty, and so people take him at that way, and it's like this whole thing. But it's I am a sucker for a good cover for a book. In fact, like I picked this up because I was like, oh, that looks stupid. I'm into it. Because for anyone who has or hasn't read this, whatever, if you're not aware, like in Japan, a cherry boy is someone is it's like a male virgin, and that's just what they call it. So when I see this and I'm like, oh, cherry magic, the direct translation would be virgin magic. I'm like, that's so stupid. That's so funny. I'm gonna read that shit. And like,
Did
there's
we
so
say
much.
subtitle? I don't even think we've
Oh
said
no,
the
we didn't say
full
it's
title.
it's legal. It's full legal name. You mean?
Yeah, drop its full legal name right now.
Cherry magic, 30 years of virginity can make you a wizard. So when I say like, all right, he's doing this whole thing, it's like, oh, don't judge a book by its cover. I'm so much more than just a pretty face. It's the parallels. It's the same thing with this, where it's like, it's a stupid, silly name, but there's so much more like depth, and it's just such a genuinely good read and watch, right? That I was like, oh, little parallels there. So I'm a sucker for a stupid title. Same thing with like Dashing Zaddy and his icy protege. That's one that I've been picking up recently. I'm like, no, wait, this is genuinely good. It's just got a stupid name. I love it. So,
Banana fish. I'm like, sometimes they're trying to weed out the people who aren't worth it by giving it that funny name. And then once you're in the emotional devastation, once you're in the heartfelt, touching moments, you're like, damn, all those people who thought this was going to be a silly little story really missed out on the emotional
hmm
impact it was covering. Alrighty, so take us through kind of the cherry magic plot from start to finish, from virginity to spoiler alert, loss of virginity.
No, it is. It is a spoiler. Yeah. Cause like, who knows? Maybe they don't end up doing it. So yeah, episode 1, Adachi, he's like, I'm a virgin and I'm 30 years old. And when I turned 30, still a virgin, I got these magic powers where I can read people's minds. All I got to do is touch them. But then he like hates it, right? Cause he's like taking the subway and he's like brushing against people. And because he's this like doom and gloom guy, people are always like, ew, like gross whenever he's near them and like accidentally touches them. So it's like the bane of his existence. He hates the fact that he's got this like mind reading power. So then he gets to work and he accidentally brushes up against his colleague as they go into work, and he has these thoughts about him, and he's like, my wizardry must be on the fritz or something today, because there's no way this guy, this very popular coworker of mine, is thinking this about me. He like gets in and he's like even looking around like, oh, who is he thinking about? No one in here has bedhead. Who has bedhead? He's the only one with bedhead, right? And it's so cute because Kurosawa is like so obsessed with Adachi's little bedhead. He just like loves everything about him, and it's so stinking cute to me. So he's at work and he's like, ain't no way, it's on the fritz, whatever. So then Adachi has to like work late and Kurosawa helps him. And then it's kind of like, oh, I'll take you out to dinner and thank you. I don't want to impose. Oh, blah, blah, blah. So like, that's kind of like everything, bang, bang, boom, first episode, right?
And there's like a mole on Adachi's neck, and Kurosawa like touches the mouse on the mouse pad at the same time that Adachi does.
Mm-hmm.
And Kurosawa is thinking in his head, I just want to lick that mole. He's being so dirty. And all of his thoughts are like, this is what I love about him, is on the outside, he looks so cool,
Mm-hmm.
calm, collected, professional. On the inside,
He's a little
that's when
freak.
he's a freak. And he's not just a freak, he's like obsessed. And he's not just obsessed, he has this like angel devil on his shoulders. So half of his thoughts are like, respect this man, get a
Mhm.
grip of yourself, don't do this.
I
Like,
know. He's,
do
like,
these
bullying
things this way.
himself over it.
Yes. And then the other half of him is like, lick that mole, lick him. And it's so funny. There's like one episode where he's like, well, there's no making sense of those thoughts because sometimes Kurosawa's emotions and thoughts are so overwhelming and plentiful in his own head that Adachi
Mhm.
is like immediately inundated with it and can barely suss it out, especially because he himself has had no romantic experience at all. He's never had a girlfriend,
Right.
never had sex, nothing. So
Mhm.
Kurosawa is just like in his head fantasizing about Adachi, and Adachi has never had those kind of feelings for anyone. So he's like, oh my God, this is so coming on so strong, so powerful. So it's really funny to immediately get that kind of juxtaposition of how everyone else in the office sees Kurosawa and then who he is inside. And who he is inside is this like dirty, simpy fangirl.
He's
And
so simpy.
he's so simpy, and I absolutely relate to him. Like, I don't know, in high school, in college, and when I met my husband, I mean, you just couldn't get me to stop daydreaming, like, and like thinking about that person 24/7, like drawing my name with their last name at the end and like a heart
Oh, he
around
was
it.
totally that girl,
No, I was just like sitting at his office desk,
like,
just
trying out
writing,
his last name.
just writing Adachi in hearts and in cursive and
I totally
kissing
see
the
that.
paper.
It's
Absolutely.
canon.
We've
So
got we've got both of them kind of working late, and then he agrees to pay him back for helping with his work by taking him out to
Mhm.
dinner, right?
Right, and so they go out to dinner, and gosh, there were so many moments because he ended up having they, like, stayed out so late that Adachi couldn't even go home to his own house, like, the train stopped, and then he's like, "Oh, it's fine, you can crash at my place." Now, Adachi's like, "Oh, is this innocent?" Because he's, like, already read his mind, he's like, "Oh, he had those dirty thoughts earlier," and then he's like, "No, no, no," in his mind, he's, like, fighting, he's like, "Oh, I'm finally gonna have him at my place," but, like, "No, no, I'm not that kinda guy, like, I'm not gonna do those things to him," and he does end up staying over at his place, but he, like, already has pajamas that he has bought for this man. He's, like, fantasized about him wearing in his own home. And it's just kinda one of those things where it's like, it's so not embarrassing, like, if I wish that there were a flashback to that specific moment where he connects that, like, when Adachi could read his mind and knowing that when he handed him those pajamas, that he was connecting like, "Oh, back then he knew that I bought those pajamas for him and just had them at my place already waiting for him on the off chance that maybe he could come over, and if not, I could just imagine him in the pajamas on my own." Like, so embarrassing, kill me.
It is so embarrassing. Kurosawa is so embarrassing, but there is this hilarious moment where he's thinking inside his own head, I'm not gonna let you get away. I'm gonna make you fall in love with
Mhm.
me. And Adachi thinks to himself, man, a businessman is always closing deals. And that's the thing is that he absolutely is this like salesman he has already thought ahead. He got the
Mhm.
pajamas. He figured out a way when they were at that dinner. First of all, they had a coupon. Basically, Adachi was supposed to take Kurosawa out. Kurosawa, we can imagine has a higher paying job and maybe a more important position. So he has more money. But
Mhm.
Adachi gets a coupon from their boss, takes him out. The coupon is expired. So Kurosawa has to pay anyways, which he is very happy about. And he says, don't worry, you can just take me out again and you'll pay next time. And Adachi tries to like pay him back with cash so that he doesn't have to
Mhm.
do this. He is a businessman, salesman, and he already knows
Mhm.
what his strategy is and he's going to close this deal. So he's got the pajamas, he's got the man in his house, he has him indebted to him for another dinner, and he's checking off everything on his list. And in his own mind, he knows that he is being like a little bit strategic and manipulative. And he goes over while Adachi is like laying there in his pajamas and Adachi's pretending to be asleep. And he's thinking, oh my God, is he going to make a move on me? And Chris,
Mhm.
like, it has this internal conflict of like, do I make my move? Because I set it all up perfectly. And now he's here in my house and I could just touch him. And
Mhm.
then he doesn't. He goes back into his room and he sits on the other side of the door and he's tortured about it. And he thinks how he's not going to be able to sleep, but he knows he did the right
Mhm.
thing. And it's very sweet because you see, yeah, this guy probably could have in that first episode made a move on Adachi and forced
Mhm.
him, and it would have been like a lot of BLs that we're all used to seeing. But
Yeah.
instead, Kurosawa is not only strategic, but considerate. And he's being strategic to sell himself the best not to try and force Adachi into anything he doesn't want to be into.
He, throughout this, genuinely wants Adachi to fall for him in the way that, like, he's like, but I want it to be like, yeah, I want to make him fall for me, but I want it to be his decision
Yeah, I
to
want
be
him to
with me.
actually see me because we
But that's
find out
mhm.
that Kurosawa, when he first fell in love with Adachi, it was because they were out at a business meeting and Adachi can't drink very much. So Kurosawa was drinking
You're
his drink
skipping ahead to
for him.
episode 3.
That was episode 3. So we find out that in that moment, he got too drunk and Adachi saw him be a little bit of a bumbling mess and he laughs at him. And Kurosawa thinks, this is the first person who has ever seen me for who I am. So yeah, he wants him to fall in love with him, not because he's a charismatic businessman who pitched the sale right. He wants him to fall
Mhm.
in love with him because he saw him in that moment, in his weak moment, for a real person with a real heart. And he wants Adachi to keep seeing that and to really appreciate him for what's on the inside. And so he doesn't want to be too manipulative and he's holding himself back from doing that because he knows he's gotten all the girls he ever wanted.
Mhm.
Kurosawa has dating experience and he even says, I've planned perfect dates for people, but it was always just strategic. And, I want this love to be real. So it is very from right off the bat, it's really nice to have Kurosawa's internal monologue because we see what a true love this could be if everybody kind of gives it a chance.
Yeah, that's what's so cool about this one too is that you do get to hear the internal monologue of both characters.
It's really
And
nice.
it's rare because you're normally you're just seeing the one side of it. So that's really cool about this one. So episode 2 is the karaoke episode where they're like at like a work karaoke thing and there's like one of their other like guy coworkers goes over and sits next to Adachi and he's being an absolute mess and Adachi's being a total mom about it. But then Kurosawa sees this and then immediately gets jealous. And Adachi doesn't clock it at first. He's just kind of like, oh, that's weird, whatever. But it was so funny all the way down to Adachi cheering on the other guy coworker while he was doing karaoke, and Kurosawa was like, "Wait, I can." He like wasn't going to do karaoke, and he's like, "Oh, I'll do a song," and it was like stunningly beautiful. And Adachi thought he was going to have a moment where he finally found something that Kurosawa was bad at, but he didn't.
No, and that part is just so adorable. And also, let's just quickly touch on the fact that when we first both watched this,
Hmm.
obviously it was subtitled. It's dubbed now, and the English dub is incredible. It
It's so
is
good.
good. And then the singing, we were already talking about before we started podcasting, like in other animes, someone was supposed to
Other
be
animes, not any names given.
name the name. In Given, we're supposed to have a beautiful singer, and when they open their mouth and sing, it's the most atrocious thing you've ever heard. And in this one, Kurosawa opens his mouth to sing, and it's like literally the same singer as in the title sequence, like the theme song of the show. Like it sounds like that. It sounds so good, and I loved it. It was adorable, and of course, Adachi is also just like
Hmm.
shit, he's great at this. All the girls are fangirling for Kurosawa. So I thought that was such a cute moment. And then from here, does everybody drink so much that they go back to Adachi's house to do those little takoyaki?
No, that
Is
was
that what
like
it's
they
called?
did like a boys' date on another episode.
Okay.
Is this the episode where, or was it a different one where they were playing the King's game with the straws?
I think it was definitely this one. And so, yeah,
Hmm.
so this other coworker, his name is Rokaku, and he doesn't have any nefarious intentions with Adachi, but it definitely does introduce an element of jealousy here that Kurosawa has to deal with, which is the fact that if he doesn't come forward with his feelings, Adachi's going to pay attention and befriend this other man. And if he doesn't want that to happen, he's going to have to be upfront with why he is uncomfortable with that and why he wants all of Adachi's attention placed on him. And so it's a very fun, it's not a love triangle because Rokaku is not interested, but it's a fun dynamic to try to pull Kurosawa out of this internal fantasy and into real life action where he has to step in between these other two characters if he doesn't want Adachi's attention divided anymore.
When they were at the bar with all of their coworkers playing the King's game, which is like just this game where you have like long and short straws, and whoever has like the longest straw gets to make a rule about the other numbered straws or whatever. it was these two numbers have to kiss. And of course, it was Kurosawa and Adachi. And they were like, yeah, kiss, kiss. Which, by the way, one of the coworkers is a Fujoshi. And that comes up so much more because there's like, fake misunderstanding and all this other stuff. But anyway, so they went to go play Kings. And again, Kurosawa was like, this is my chance. But then he reels himself in and just gives him a little forehead smooch. And it was so sweet. And it leads them to go outside and kind of like cool off from it, where we see that Kurosawa is like, hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be gross. Like, like boys kissing is like gross to people and stuff. And again, this is just episode 2. And Adachi's like, I didn't hate it. Left that door wide open for that man. And I was kind of like, again, this is so nice because we get to see Kurosawa, like, this is his chance. Like, he could just do it. Like, he could be that guy. But he's like, no, I want my relationship with Adachi to be so much more than just, like, me forcing myself on him or whatever. Like, I want him to like me for me.
And I feel like it also gave us a little bit of insight into both of their sexualities. Like maybe Kurosawa has already come to terms with his bisexuality. I want to say these are 2 bi characters, and that is they end up together, but both of them have had interest in women in the past. And Kurosawa has definitely had relationships in the past. So this is his moment of being like, are you homophobic? And do you have any internalized homophobia? Did you feel like that is gross? Because I know a lot of people would feel like that's gross. He doesn't say, oh, that was so weird. It's so gross. I didn't want to do it either. In fact, he makes it pretty obvious that like he himself does not find it weird, but he's sorry if Adachi finds it weird for 2 guys to kiss, and he did not mean to pressure him. And so that's why he went for the forehead kiss. And Adachi's able to say, maybe I've never thought about it before, but I didn't think it was weird. And it didn't bother me that it was a man kissing me. That was not of course, being forced to kiss by a bunch of other people is weird, but it being you, a man, wasn't a problem. And so he's sussed out now that Adachi, maybe if he hasn't figured out his sexuality, is at least open to the fact that it could be something other than a heteronormative sexuality. So that I thought was really respectful without crying. In fact, he says like, I think he even says, he questions a little bit and is it like, I'm not trying to be forward, but do you know what it means? When he asks him and he says, I didn't think it was weird. And he goes, I'm not trying to be forward, but do you know what it means that you don't find that weird? Like it means that you might like guys. And so they have this little conversation where they're able to explore that without like outing the other one or trying to like push that or assert that onto the other one. So I thought that was, again, super healthy and very natural in a way that felt like, something that could happen in real life and definitely does set a model for people who are looking for healthy representation. If you're not sure about your sexuality and someone's trying to pry that out of you or force it out of you, that's not a great fit. If somebody is your friend first and is trying to help you discover who you are first, that's a really lovely person to fall in love with and somebody you could probably trust with your heart because they're not trying to project their own sexuality on you or their own feelings on you. They're trying to genuinely ask you what your own feelings about that might be. So chef's kiss, beautiful.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong with this scene. This is when Kurosawa learns that Adachi is a cherry boy, right?
I think so. He says, I've never had a relationship, and that was my
It's
like, I've never been kissed.
I've like never been kissed before. So it was just that, not that it was you or that you're a guy or anything. It's like, this is all new to me. And that's why I was nervous.
Yes. And then he does have a little bit of a momentary freak out when people open the door and see them out there. He kind of pushes Kurosawa away, and then those people leave, and he looks at Kurosawa and he goes, I meant that I didn't mind you kissing me on the forehead. I might mind if you kiss me on the lips. So don't
and he, like,
try
runs
it.
away.
Don't try it, buddy. And
nice
so
try.
Kurosawa's back at arm's length, but also he is aware now that the gender of the person kissing Adachi is not the issue. It's just Adachi getting kissed is an issue because he is so again at an arm's length. He keeps everybody kind of far away from him. So that's going to be more of a challenge than getting him to accept that a man is okay to be that person.
Right. And it kind of like leads itself into a couple of other like now like new fantasies for Kurosawa because he's like, wait, I get to be all of Adachi's firsts, and there ends up. And I know we did like kind of again, he's a little bit of a freak, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like he internalizes that a lot because later in the series, Adachi's having like a moment, and Kurosawa was like, it would be an honor to be like your first for anything. Right.
which feels this trauma for Adachi because the only experience we've ever seen him was one double date he kind of went on where he overheard the girls saying, if I was with a guy who'd never had a girlfriend or a virgin, I would not be with them. It would not
Yeah.
work out. And the
Mhm.
guy is like, oh, well, you'll about Adachi. And she's like, no, this is not going to work out. I need a guy with more experience. So he
Mhm.
already has it in his mind that he's missed the boat and he is so inexperienced at this point that no one will give him a chance. So he has that baggage. And this becoming Kurosawa's fantasy being all of his firsts, and Adachi being able to read his mind and hear in his mind Kurosawa thinking, this is amazing. This means that I get to make it so special when we go on our first date, our first
Mhm.
kiss, our first time, our first everything will be so special because he's never done it with anyone else. It's flipped this negative that Adachi had about himself into a massive positive. And that's beautiful because the people who we love, they do tend to take our insecurities and make them the things that we're the most confident about. And I
Mhm.
think that's beautiful.
Yeah. Also in episode 2, like, I feel like so much happened in episode 2, we meet Adachi's best friend, the romance novelist, who we also find out in that moment is also a virgin.
Suge, is that how we
Yeah.
say his name?
Yeah.
Suge.
Mhm.
And I love this character so much. So, just to give a physical description of everyone, Achi's a little bit smaller. He has blue
Mhm.
eyes, and I think they're blue green. And he has like dark black hair. He has a slim physique. They go into a sauna together, and we see Kurosawa's body is a hardened 8-pack. And he thinks in his head, I have only been working out so that one day when Adachi sees me, he thinks I'm so beautiful. And then they go into the sauna together. We get a note. Well, basically, Adachi's towel slips a little bit and we get to see a little bit more of him. And Kurosawa thinks he's so soft. I just want to touch him. He's so soft. And then we see Adachi in the locker room, like jiggling his little belly fat. So he
Mhm.
might be a little bit. He's slender. He's got a smaller frame,
Frame.
but he's got a little bit of softness, a little bit of chub on him. And then Kurosawa is like our hardened, taller, muscle body, and he has light brown hair, kind of medium brown hair, and he is conventionally super attractive.
Mhm.
Whereas Adachi has a bit of a dark cloud around him, maybe like wrinkled shirt kind of guy. And
Head, remember?
head, wrinkly, unkempt, and then no facial hair or anything because he's got like a baby face. And then these side characters I love. And I will say in the live action, the side characters for me were everything
Really?
because Suge, you would not imagine Suge being any more awkward or any more hilariously nerdy than he is in the anime. But in the live action, that actor killed it, absolutely slaughtered. It is so fucking funny. So this character is tall. He has
Mhm.
dark hair. He's kind of hot, except for he wears a little bit kind of nerdy glasses that are very rectangular framed. He has a turtleneck on
Always it's
and
always the Steve Jobs turtleneck.
he's jobby and he's got like some ugly shoes. In general,
Mhm.
he doesn't leave his house and he's just got a cat who he named Udon. And we don't even learn till like the last episode that he can drive. And so all of the hot things about him, he's really, really doing a good job of covering up. And then
Mhm.
his love interest is going to be kind of this blonde idol, for lack of a better word, like twink who is very slender and beautiful and young and who's maybe about 20, I would say like 22 or 4, something like that.
Early 20s, yeah.
So he's definitely got more of a
And
like
he's got the little tooth thing going on too, right?
He's he's
So
got a
cute.
snaggletooth or crooked teeth, and so he's got more of these, like, this boyish charm. He bleaches his hair, he has earrings, so he's like a bad boy and also a little bit smaller and effeminate, very, very cute character. So we've got kind of a range of looks on these characters, which is really fun just because there's lots of different aesthetics going on. So we meet Suge, and I thought this character was so funny because he's a romance novelist who is a virgin. So what a hilarious dichotomy.
I know. Well, actually, so it's interesting because that's like not an uncommon thing. Like I've heard of like a lot of really successful romance authors being like, hey,
Yep.
yeah.
Tons. And I think that that is extremely common. In fact, a lot of influencers who I follow on Instagram will be
Mhm.
vocal about asexuality and how they read a lot of smut because it's basically the only way they're interested in interacting with that part of
Mhm.
life is through fiction. In reality, it's not something that they physically want to embody or experience, but it is something that fictionally or in fantasy is quite fun to delve into. It has a lot less risks and a lot more rewards than, being asexual and trying to experience that in real life against kind of your own natural inclination or natural will. So it's not that uncommon. It is a very funny dichotomy, though, to see somebody try to navigate because this character is not asexual or aromantic. In fact, he's
No.
quite romantic and quite sexual as well. He just hasn't ever had somebody he wanted to practice that on. And he has been so low self esteem his entire life that he never thought anybody would accept him. So instead of being rejected, he takes his desires and he puts them into words and makes it fiction so that he cannot be rejected. And his main character has a set of controlled circumstances where he's always accepted in the end and he always gets a happy ending. And that's so sweet and so sad at the same time. But it makes for a complex character who gives great advice and sometimes in real life never does the right thing and doesn't say the right thing, even though in his books he can always get it right. Super
Mhm.
fun character, one of my absolute favorite characters.
Can we just also shout out the fact that when Adachi goes to him and is like, hey, I've got this issue, he razzes him harder about being a wizard than he does about potentially being gay. He's like, in the way you've
Absolutely.
got magic powers, my boy. And like, that's it. Like that, there's no like, that's kind of weird. Or, oh, are you sure? Oh, that's weird. Your like male coworker's hitting on you, but he's hot and you're not. Like, it's literally none of that. It's literally just like, what do you mean you're a wizard? Like sort of thing. That's where it ends.
It's one thing I love about this story is that there is no homophobia. Like, period. There's no homophobia. There's no homophobia with the coworkers. Fujisaki, their coworker who is a Fujoshi, she she is like the problematic Fujoshi because she's hoping for real life people to like kiss in front of her. But at the same time, she's not problematic. She literally just wants to see romance have its day on this earth and to love to win. And
But
I
she's
love
not
her.
spiraling out of nothing. Like she's noticing things and she's like, wait, she's like clocking it. And that's different too.
Yes, I think she's an ally. She's absolutely an ally. I think she's clocked their tea and she's trying to help them find their happy ending. She's not just like running around trying to make random boys kiss. She's not running around into gay clubs to like get her rocks off. She seriously believes in the romance and the potential of true love between two
Mhm.
people. And she's going to do what she can to support that internally and externally. And she cheers them on like a cheerleader. And that is so sweet. And I really do love that. I love that character. So we've got no homophobia, not in the side characters, not the bosses never pick up or mention it. The coworkers never pick up or mention it. In fact, the coworkers are trying to get them to kiss. So like homophobia didn't have its day in this court. And I'm so glad about it because of course it's realistic. Everyone is
Mhm.
always homophobic. Sometimes we just don't need to see it in the fucking story. It doesn't need to tarnish our happy chapter. Okay.
Mm-mm. I think the closest we get, and it's not even homophobia as much as it is jealousy, was when they were out together on their date or they were just out together. There were these two girls who were like trying to get with, um, my names are escaping me,
Kurosawa.
Kurosawa. And like they were like, oh, no way he'd be with that guy. Like he's hot.
It's not about the guy. It's about the
It was like
social
they were just being
standing.
petty bitches. Like it was not about their sexuality, which I was like,
Yeah,
whatever.
it wasn't like Kurosawa is so hot he couldn't be gay. It was like Kurosawa is so hot. If he was gay, he wouldn't be with that I'll. Again, we've like just taken this homophobia kind of out of the equation. And that, of course, is not realistic, but this is a fictional story. Turning into a wizard
Mhm.
is not realistic. We have other problems to talk about here, like the fact that one of them's a wizard, not the fact that their boss would, of course, be inherently homophobic. We don't even need to talk about it because we can already assume it and just move right along.
Mhm.
I really did love that. So, yeah, his best friend is not concerned with the fact that he is gay. He does not care. He's just like, quit making up stories about being a wizard.
Yeah.
Until, of course, he himself hits his 30th birthday and realizes that this is
Right.
all real.
Okay, so that is episode 4. Episode 4 is side couple time. So I think that's when the dude wakes up and he's like, oh, it's my birthday. And he goes to get a package from the door. There's a little delivery guy and he's like trying to blow him off because he's like, oh, I'm trying to write. And he's like, oh, this delinquent won't go away. And he like goes in and like their hands graze. And so he's like, oh shit, I guess he was right about the wizardry, first of all. But second, he's like, oh wait, this delinquent's actually kind of cute. Also, he likes my cat. You want to come in and hang out with me? I mean, my cat. So we kind of get to see like the little first bits of the couple forming, and we also find out that the reason that the the second love interest in the second couple is obsessed with the cat is because he like partially rescued this little kitten. And so they like kind of by the end of it, like we're like, oh, they kind of like rescued the little kitten together. That's so cute. So we love
A little bit
that.
of a family. And then
I
in the
know.
live action, Val, this is what totally sold me on Suge. And whoever the director of the live action was is hilarious because every time, so the love interest, so Suge is the best friend of Adachi, and his love
Mhm.
interest is this UPS worker basically named
Yeah.
Minato. And he, I guess it's not the UPS because it's Japan, but he's a delivery man. And every time he's doing something cute, he like turns his back to Minato and then he beats on his own chest, like to try to get his heart under control. And it is so funny. In anime, you see Suge, oftentimes he'll be like overwhelmed with emotion or feelings that he usually doesn't have because he's usually writing these stories and he
Yeah.
can put all the emotion onto the page. So when he's feeling it for the first time IRL, he will like drop to his knees or run out of breath. And in the live action, it is so funny because he like
That's so
pounds on his
cute.
chest and he's just like,
They're trying to
come
restart
on.
his
And this character is like in the background watching him, like, who is this freak and what is he doing? Because
What's wrong with this guy?
he's not doing it in his head. He's doing it out loud in real life. And it made me love Suge so much because he's just like hysterically awkward and also so dramatic. And like, I just really can relate to that where like my eyes will like, a wooga wooga, and I will like faint from excitement. And he just has all those dramatics. And I really loved it about him.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute. Okay. All right. So this is like episode 4 was like, all right, we get a little bit of teaser about the second couple. The second half of episode 4 is when Dachi and his friend are like going for a walk and they see Kurosawa outside of a convenience store with a woman and they're having a tussle. And our little storm cloud has his first spout of a jealousy.
And this
Like,
is where he
oh,
knows nothing he was feeling for Kurosawa was admiration or platonic. He clearly seeing him with a woman brings up jealous romantic feelings. So he
mhm.
has to confront for the first time that, okay, it's not just Kurosawa who has feelings for me. I can read Kurosawa's mind. Can I even read my own mind? Do I even
Right.
know how I actually feel about this person? Because now I'm starting to be confronted with an emotion I've never had before. And I have to admit, it doesn't feel like a coworker thing.
No. Well, he even tries to like, no, he tries to blow it off because he had like had a couple of drinks with his friend and he's like, "Oh, man, the cold and the drinks really making me dizzy." And I'm like, right, it's the cold making you dizzy and not the jealousy that you're experiencing for the first time in your life making you nauseous. Right. Totally.
And this girl is asking Kurosawa if she can stay at his house. And
Uh-huh.
Adachi has now stayed at his house, I think, maybe just once, but I think twice at this point for one reason or another. And so we're getting this idea each time he spends the night, Kurosawa wakes him up and makes him a beautiful breakfast. And Adachi's comfortable there. And he maybe doesn't, maybe he's starting to feel territorial about
Oh.
this intimacy where he doesn't want other people to be invited into Kurosawa's life the way he has. He feels special. And even if he's not ready to completely flesh out how he feels about Kurosawa, he does want to be the person that Kurosawa treats differently than everybody else. That does
Mhm.
make him feel good because at work, he's used to being the person everybody ignores. And he doesn't want Kurosawa to pay him special attention and now pay it to somebody else too.
No.
So that I thought was really sweet. And I also love this, like, he's starting to be territorial over that apartment where it's like,
Mhm.
he has his own
Yeah, that's
apartment, but
our yeah.
yeah, he's like,
Mhm.
I like staying, I actually do like staying there.
Yes. Okay, so then, even though it's just the cold that's making him sick, he then throws a tantrum. And so then, of course, he wakes up sick the next morning and has to stay home. And then, okay, guess who's worried about him? Guess who's, all right, who's not at the office? Who's worried about it? Kurosawa. Oh, where's Adachi? Oh, he's not feeling well. And of course, Kurosawa, obsessed with him, is like, oh no, I gotta go check on him. So then he goes over to check on him, and now Adachi's feeling weird because he realized it was like a jealous thing. And then, oh, the jealousy made him sick because he ran home in the rain and he was stupid about it. But then Kurosawa comes over to check on him. And he's like, oh no, I don't need any help. But then he ends up staying over there and taking care of him and sleeping at his bedside to make sure that he was taken care of through the night. Meanwhile, Adachi had like a hint of a moment where he's like, oh no, is he going to try to pull something? And then he wakes up and feels bad about it because he sees Adachi like literally curled up on the side of his bed like a little puppy from taking care of him all night.
Yep, Kurosawa was so sweet. And then Adachi had no food to make himself, but somehow Kurosawa found everything in the apartment to make him a beautiful porridge. And he's
Mm-hmm.
realizing, like, oh, this is wife material.
No, for sure.
Kurosawa is the
100%.
perfect wife. Yeah. And he is the perfect male wife. Like, he will cook, he will clean, he will plan the dates, he'll plan the trips, he'll do it all for you if you just let him, baby girl. And it's very, very sweet. And it's funny too, because every time Adachi does kind of feel bad for maybe I shouldn't have assumed his intentions. Then he'll kind of touch Kurosawa, and Kurosawa is having a little bit of a dirty thought about him. And he's like, never mind. I knew you were being dirty this whole time. So
Yeah.
even, and he never acts on it, but it is very sweet. And I love the trope in VLs and maybe all Japanese or Asian media. There's this trope of taking care of people when you're sick. And in America, we really don't get that. That's not a common romantic trope where somebody is sick and someone else genuinely worries that they'll die. Both of us love fruits baskets so
Mm-hmm.
much. And let's talk about it. There is like a mild cold that a character gets and it ends his life in less than 24 hours. So these characters and all of these stories are acting very dramatically in maybe our Western opinion about a cold, but it really does show I care for you so much that the slightest variation in your health will send you
Mm-hmm.
into a spiral. And I will put aside everything else in my life to make sure that you can come back to 100% because I could not live without you. And
Right.
that is so beautiful and something we only reserve for each other in America when we get like cancer, or have surgery. We definitely don't do it for a cold. My husband and I never baby each other when we have colds. And this kind of media makes me wish we did because it really does show that, like, yeah, I know it's not that serious, but your health to me is always that serious. And it also reminds these guys that if they don't have each other, who is going to notice when they don't show up to work? Who's going to notice when
Mm-hmm.
they don't feel good?
Mm-hmm.
And that is why we couple up in this world. And that's why we fall in love, because it really does matter if somebody is there to care for you in your hard moments.
I was gonna say, speak for me and my husband because we do baby each other when we're sick.
Are you guys nice? Even for
Yeah.
colds, I'm always like, suck it up unless you're bleeding.
No, the only
If my family's
time
like bleeding or puking, don't talk to me about it.
no, the only time that I give my husband a hard time when he's sick is when he first started to get together. He's like, yeah, I just get sick like once a year and it's like roughly around the same time. And that'll be the only time I get sick. And I'm like, man, you have allergies. Like, and that's the only
That's
time I
you
won't
mean the
baby him
pollen?
is so that's the only time that I won't like super baby him is when he has his one cold of the year. He's better about it now, but I'm
That's
just
so
like, hey, take some Benadryl, and if that doesn't help, then we'll do the normal thing. So anyway, no.
I had the opposite experience. In our life, we would have like the worst injury and my mom would be like, put a cold rag on it. I like had to take myself in high school to the doctor for a tumor in my arm because my mom was like, lumps come and go. And so when I got married, I was like, first of all, not very sympathetic to him and also really hopeful that he would baby me. But he was he was babied by his mom, so he didn't ever have to do that for anybody else. So I remember in college being like, this is one moment I was like, I'm going to dump his ass. And it's so hysterical because I needed my wisdom teeth taken out. And I thought, this is going to be the one time I get babied. I have a surgery. So I go, I get my wisdom. Literally, like the day before my wisdom teeth, he gets a kidney stone so bad he needs surgery. And I was like, you manifested that kidney stone so you wouldn't have to take care of me. And now I have to baby you because yours is worse than mine now. To this day, there's never been a situation where Wolfgang has had to be the one who takes care of me. In fact, every single time I get sick, he gets sick at the same time. And I know that's germ theory and literally how germs work, but we're always sick at the same time. And I always have to be the one to like step up and be the doctor. So I am very bitter about it. And I'll just like throw the nasal spray at him and be like, nobody throws nasal spray at me, buddy. You're welcome. So when I see it in this media, and of course, Adachi says like, the only people who have ever taken care of me before were my parents. And I'm like, I guess I just was
Brag.
not socialized like this. So like that's the fantasy for me. That's the romanticization for me, is that like that people really do like do people really do care and notice so much, even if you have a sniffle. And of course, that's hypocritical because when someone gets a sniffle around me, I will throw the box of tissues at them. But I love to hear that that is how you live your life because love is real.
See, to be clear, I was not babied as a child. Like, I literally broke my foot once, and my mom was like, maybe walk on it for 2 weeks before we went to the doctor. So she's like, it can't hurt that bad. And I'm like,
Not bad. It's like that thing, are you
It
bleeding
was
or
from 2 places. My foot was broken in 2 places, and I walked on it for a full week before I could you know what I mean?
That's the thing, like, in our society, we're just I love that you 2 take care of each other. That's very sweet because I feel like for the most part, we're socialized to just, like, buck up and carry on. America's healthcare system is bad. We're not going to the doctor.
Yeah.
If you have a slight fever, we're not gonna go to the doctor, and in all of these stories, he's like, "If you don't feel better in the next second, I'm taking you to the ER," and that's
Yeah.
when we get this adorable moment where Kurosawa, like, presses his forehead against Adachi's to see if he has a fever, and maybe he could have used his hand or whatever, but he is very caring and nurturing in that moment that makes you think like, oh, this is a family that should be together because they genuinely do care for each other and they'll keep each other healthy and well for the rest of their lives. These 2 people deserve each other. They deserve that kind of care.
I will say in his defense, I don't know if it's like an anime trope or whatever, but, like, my husband and I have gotten to the point where we also do the forehead thing because, like,
Or
sometimes your hands are cold, and then it's like, "Oh, well, my hands are cold, so I can't tell if your head is warm." But it's like your head is like your true temp. So, like, touching the head, so you can, like, really tell, like, "Oh, their head is hotter than my head, so their temperature is higher than it should." So, like, in reality, it's, like, pretty efficient
and a lot
and
of
we do
people
that
do
now
it.
too.
I had a nanny who would do it. She would kiss the top of your head and go,
Mhm.
"Oh no, you've got that's a fever. You're warm." And it's like that is just so intimate and sweet
Mhm.
in a way that where like obviously the story is about losing your virginity, but there's so many intimate moments in between that are just as powerful, if not more powerful. And that is one of them. Is this like I will come to your house uninvited to make sure you're alive. And then I will
Mhm.
take care of you and sleep next to your bed. And I won't even lay down all night because I care so deeply for you. And that is the like, that's the real intimacy. And that is, it's very rare to find in real life or in media. And when we get it, it's so nice. And
Mhm.
really, this story, that's why it's such a like home run is that it doesn't shy away from that intimacy that is so deep. It almost feels intrusive when someone is like, I'm coming into your house, I'm sleeping by your bed, whether or not you want me to, because more so than feeling cringe or embarrassing or whatever, taking care of you is all that matters right now. And it's just, it's perfect.
Well, and I think that was the moment where Adachi, like, finally realized, like, oh, he, like, actually likes me. Like, he genuinely cares about me. Because to your point, he's like, only my family has done this. Like, nobody, like, I would have just laid here and suffered. So he's like, oh, Kurosawa, like, actually cares. So I think, like, that was, like, the turning point for him. So it's always, like, the sick episode, but you know what I mean? Like, you get there. So then after that, they ride on the subway together and they, are like close because the subway's packed. And he's like, hey, is the subway always packed? He's like, yeah. But then, like, their other coworker sees them and was like, oh, I didn't realize they were tight. Like, I didn't know they were homies. And so that's when they have their 3-man slumber party, takoyaki night over at Adachi's place where, oh no, I stayed too long. The train can't come. And it's like, oh, we've got 1 bed and 3 men. What do we do?
And
And
that's more like jealousy where they're all trying to like fry the best ball of food for the other. And then we have
oh
a
my
little
gosh, it's so funny. Macho.
because one of the characters, they're both trying to like cook the best fried ball. And then one of them is like, okay, this is getting boring. We've eaten a lot of the same thing. One of these is a Russian roulette style spicy ball where if you eat it, it'll be so spicy. And Adachi is like, I can handle, he accidentally touches Kurosawa and Kurosawa internally is panicking, going, I can't
Can't
handle
handle
spice.
spice.
I do not want to embarrass myself in front of this man. And so Adachi's like, okay, I'll go ahead and touch Rokaku and see which one is spicy. Then I'll take one for the team. And
Mhm.
before he can do that, he hears Kurosawa's inner monologue going, honestly, it'd be kind of hot if Adachi got it because then I could see him sweat and
Tear
pant. And
up and
I love to see him drool and tear up. And he's so dirty.
she's like, "Fuck you,
Adachi,
man. Like, I almost took this one for you, but no,
Adachi's like, my God.
for real right now. I just want to do this for you. No, you deserve to suffer."
We're in this room, like the 3 of us all together, and you have these like completely uncensored thoughts. And
No.
I just love Kurosawa for that because he is dirty to a fault. He
He's a
literally
little freak.
never stops.
Yeah.
He never stops thinking about Adachi, and Adachi is not really giving him anything to go off of. He dresses like a little bit of a slob. He's a nerd, and it doesn't matter because to Kurosawa, he is the hottest man alive. He's irresistible, and
Mhm.
he can't even resist thinking about him. So then they have this debate over who's going to sleep in what bed because they've been screwing around making dinner all night, and now nobody can take the bus home. They're all a little bit drunk. and they're like, what are the sleeping situations going to be? And he can hear both of, he can hear Kurosawa's thoughts, and he also has his own. Adachi has his own kind of concerns about what it would mean to sleep with either the less senior person in his office, which would be Rokaku, and he doesn't want to make that uncomfortable for him. And he also knows that it would be a weird step in one direction with Kurosawa if he did sleep with him, and he can hear Kurosawa's mind begging to sleep in the same bed as Rokaku, and also telling Rokaku that he's not allowed to sleep with Adachi and that would be the weird situation. So Adachi steps in bed. It's my bed. You two will sleep together and I will sleep alone. And so everyone's cock blocked in this moment. But it's very important, I think, also to see that Adachi is able to assert himself and stand up for himself and put boundaries where he wants boundaries. And this is one moment where, if he does love this guy, he doesn't want his first night sleeping in a bed with him to have Rokaku on the floor next to them. So
right?
He saves that, which is it's pretty nice.
I will say we forgot during the sick episode thing. Isn't that when his sister comes by, and that's when that miscommunication thing was cleared up, because Adachi was like, oh no, he's got this ex-girlfriend, and then he's like, oh wait, no, you guys are the same kind of beautiful. It makes more sense that you're related, yeah, for sure. But then they had that cockblock moment with the takoyaki night, but then Wingman sister was like, oh, Kurosawa, I need to crash at your place. Oh, this is your buddy, you can crash here, thanks everyone, bye. And I was like, everyone was kind of like, oh, sure,
yet another ally.
Yeah.
Yeah, another Fujoshi who just wants people to fall in love, and she clocks it immediately and is like, oh, peace out, brother. I actually didn't need a place to stay. Hope that your bed's warm tonight. And
right?
It's so cute. Love her for that. All of the side characters in this are kind of memorable and hilarious. Love them.
Yes. So then we finally get to the point where they go on a date by episode 7, because I have in my notes here episode 7 date song, and that's all I wrote, because that's my favorite part, I think, of the entire series, is the fact that this man put on an entire musical ensemble in his brain before the date even began.
It's so real to me. My husband, he calls me Queen Beautiful Courtney of the Gorgeous Kingdom, and he'll make up these songs all the time that are so cringy. They make me want to vomit. They make me so mad. And they're his little original.
Oh my God.
So bad. He's tone deaf. And it's just it's kind of like when in the Barbie movie, Ken starts playing the acoustic guitar and you're just no one wants to this man sing right now, but he gets this internal, he gets to hear the song inside Kurosawa's head that he's singing. And it's just, he's romanticized this whole day. He has basically turned it into a rom-com between the two of us, where he has planned the entire thing, including, going shopping, going on a helicopter ride, going out for a public eat together. And he doesn't totally take into consideration that Adachi might be uncomfortable with a lavish date where a lot of money is spent on him and he's out in the public, and he doesn't consider whether or not Adachi would want to be on a helicopter ride, because Kurosawa just really wants to have this romantic, picturesque, movie perfect date, and it's worked.
Is that it's Adachi's first date, so he's like, I have to give you the most perfectest, bestest first date ever to be memorable for you.
And it totally plays like a 2000s rom-com montage in his own head, where he is singing a theme song about their love, and it is hysterical. It's literally hysterical. And also it's very sweet, because every time Adachi touches him, he gets a mental image of what he looks like to Kurosawa, and in his head, he's like, I overslept on our first date. I didn't show up in a cute outfit. Kurosawa must think that I'm a total slob, a total loser. And then he touches Kurosawa, and through his rose-colored glasses, Kurosawa sees nobody but the hottest man in the world. Doesn't matter what he's wearing. And then he says,
oh, cutie little bedhead. He's just obsessed with this man's bedhead. It's so sickeningly cute.
And then he literally says this one in his own head. He's like, oh, that one hair is sticking up again. It's always that one hair. Dachi thinks to himself, how creepy that it's not just the bedhead. You know exactly which hair is out of place. And then he goes, I'm kind of uncomfortable with how I dressed. I wish I would have dressed nicer. Could we maybe go shopping? And Kurosawa goes, in his own head, he's like, my dress up darling, my little dress up doll. I'm going to put you in every. And then Adachi almost takes it back, because this man is
you made it weird. You always got to make it weird.
You made it weird so fast, Kurosawa, and you didn't even say a thing. And that's another funny dynamic in this story, is that constantly Adachi is almost outwardly verbally replying to Kurosawa's internal thoughts. And it takes a lot for him not to confront those thoughts as if they were said out loud, which is hilarious because if you heard somebody thinking about you like a dress up doll, you
Hmm?
would want to tell them what a weirdo they were out loud. And Adachi can't say anything because he can't let this man know that he's reading his thoughts, which
No.
is just as creepy as whatever Kurosawa is doing. They're both being creepy.
They're both being creepy.
So I was just like, why is this man just spit his drink out and fall to his knees? Nothing strange has happened out here. And it's like Adachi has nobody to talk to about that. He's just like, oh my God, I saw him fully dissociate and go into this manic episode in his
In a
own head.
matter of seconds, this man is in his mind frolicking through the city, full like lyricism, full like band music playing, like it's got rhythm.
Special day.
No, come on. And he's like, there's no one to talk to this about because it's just like, what do you even do?
He can't admit that he hears it all. He can't admit that he knows what's going on. He'll look like the crazy person. So the constant
I just pissed my
tension.
pants on the spot. Like, there's no way. Like, he's lucky he only spit up his drink.
Exactly. And Kurosawa also just handles that so well. He's just like, look at my little nerd. He's so awkward. I wonder why he's spitting his drink out. He has no idea that
Little
he's
spittle
reacting.
baby.
Look how cute he is being all silly. And it's like, no, you've embarrassed yourself to the umpteenth degree, sir. Not me for spitting my drink out. You are the embarrassment. And it is so cute because they continue this miscommunication where neither one of them is being open totally with their thoughts about the other. And they're falling in love with each other's innermost selves without even like really communicating that. And that is very sweet. Like Adachi wants to be cringed. He wants to be embarrassed, but he can't because who else is going around? He's felt so many people's emotions on the subway and everything. People are constantly negative and mean and just depressed and having a horrible time in their life. So when you touch a person who, like my husband singing his little songs and calling me Queen Beautiful, like there's one song I sing. This is the only time I ever sing a song. It's the Courtney original. It goes like this. Nobody loves me. And it'll only be if like Wolf refuses to get me ice cream or something. I'll go like to an adjacent room and sing that kind of quietly. So he has to listen and then he'll go, stop singing that song. Somebody loves you. I love you. I'll get you the ice cream. But like when everyone else in the world is like a moody piece of work. And then Kurosawa is just a bubbly SpongeBob character full of like light and goodness who is singing to himself. It has to be so endearing to Adachi, who is just like, oh, right, Kurosawa is the only guy on this planet, the only person on this train, on this bus, in this town who isn't constantly miserable. Instead, he is constantly kind of smiling and enthralled with his own internal movie that he's playing. And that is super sweet. And honestly, it just is representative of somebody who hasn't been beaten down by the world. And we all need that. We all need somebody who is a source of light for us. So even though it's embarrassing, it's so endearing.
It really is. And it's just because Kurosawa was like so worried that he has to like be perfect all the time. The fact that Adachi like falls for his truest self by hearing his internal monologue. Because I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, that's not fair. That's not this. But it's like, to your point, he's able to actually fall in love with the real him because he's getting the monologue and not getting only the outward expression of what he thinks Adachi wants him to be and all this other stuff.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's like masking. A lot of us mask in different ways and being able to see behind that mask. I think that Kurosawa, we find out by the end of the story, if he could have given Adachi the permission to do that anyways, he would have, because he
Yeah.
really genuinely desired this person to know him for who he was, despite the walls he'd built up that looked like perfectionism and, popularity and all of that. He wanted somebody to be able to, dig through that. And he would have given him permission to see those songs. And I'm glad that he didn't know he was reading his mind, because he might have held back. He might have masked and tried to put on the cool guy interior if he knew someone was reading his thoughts. So it's so nice that he didn't. And by the end of this, we know the two characters well enough that it doesn't feel intrusive. It feels like an opportunity where they get to be fully themselves without judgment or reservations.
Right. And it's so funny because actually at the end of this episode, they're like holding hands and walking back together. And Kurosawa is having like these thoughts like, oh, this is so nice, blah, blah, blah. And then Adachi accidentally responds to one of the inside thoughts. And he like has a moment where he's like, oh, should I just tell him? But he ends up gaslighting him instead and was like, oh, you must be so tired. You don't remember saying that out loud? You need a nap.
Didn't remember if in the subtitle, they said the word gaslighting, but I laughed out loud when in the dub, he goes, "It's time to practice my gaslighting." And then he
I can't
goes,
remember if they did it either.
it was so funny. And he looks at Kurosawa and he goes, "Oh, you silly goose. You said that out loud. You said that out loud." And Kurosawa's like, "You're right. I must have." It's not like
Yeah,
there's
how else
another
would you know? It's like you can read minds.
there's no other possibility than if, and that's when we start to see that now Adachi is going to have to lie if it used to be an omission and now it's a straight up lie and gaslighting if he doesn't tell him. So now he's starting to have to reckon with, is it fair that I only tell this man what I'm ready to tell him and I get to hear every single one of his personal thoughts without consent, without permission? And that may be a double standard that I'm not okay with carrying on. Maybe I don't feel good about that.
So, but in the next episode is where he does reveal the powers because it was like not meant to be like a double date, but Kurosawa sees him out with his friend and gets jealous. And they're having like their talk about their wizard powers and stuff. So then he does end up revealing it there.
It's a kind of a funny dynamic. So basically, Minato, who is Suge, our main character, Suge's delivery man, Minato, wanted to be an idol his whole life. He's a dancer. And at the office place where our main characters, Adachi and Kurosawa, work, they're doing a demonstration on some like physical equipment, like workout equipment, and they need more people to test it out and give honest feedback. So they call Suge, Suge calls Minato, everybody shows up at this office place, and we see there that Minato is friends with Rokaku from their like high school days. They dance together. So there's a little bit of jealousy forming where Suge is wondering if Minato has a history or a past with anybody or any relationships with anybody. And then when he and Adachi have an internal conversation between their wizard minds, they like are over touching each other by the physical equipment and they're carrying out an entire conversation internally. And Minato kind of sees this and maybe is a little bit jealous. Kurosawa is like, "Well, who is this man, your best friend, who you're talking to and just touching?" And Adachi touches his abs and goes, "Huh, you're more muscly than I thought you were, Suge." And this is when Kurosawa just loses it. And he's like, "Oh my God, he's touching another man. I have to confront him. I need to ask who that is. Why is he touching him so much?" And then when he does confront him, Adachi goes, "I'm a wizard and I can read people's minds when I touch them. That's how we were talking to each other through our virgin powers. I am not in love with him. We're just friends. Embarrassingly enough, we're both virgins and we were having a mind reading conversation. I hope you still like me after hearing all of that." Also, I have to admit, I have been reading your mind this entire time. I know every single embarrassing thing you've ever thought about me. And that's how I know your feelings are real. But also, I feel bad about that. And they're in like a storage closet having this confrontation, and it's very spicy. And I would say this like
Tension.
the tension, the close encounter. Kurosawa has to come to terms with the fact that he's embarrassed himself. So you see all these emotions flashing on his face where he's blushing and he's a little bit angry. And he's also trying to recall all of the dirty thoughts he had that this man has already heard. And is so precious. And it's also our first true communication where, and he says, he's kind of like, "Are you sure you can read minds?" And he touches him and tells him exactly what he's thinking. And he's
Yeah.
like, "There you have it. Like it's not a joke. I seriously can hear everything you're saying." And so now they also know this could be like a tool to help them a little bit as they embark on this relationship together. If they really do like each other, this will help break down some barriers. Also, it does present this issue of, are we going to be able to communicate verbally if we
Mhm.
rely on this forever?
Right. And I think also it was like Kurosawa's birthday because he wanted to like get him a gift. And then at the end of that episode, they kiss. And then the next day, he's like, "Oh, I didn't get to give you a gift." And he's like, "Oh, the best gift I could have gotten from you was their first kiss." Like, so
Oh,
cute.
you know what it is? He got Kurosawa a pair of headphones, and then
Yeah.
Kurosawa goes, "Damn, that's how you knew I needed headphones so bad. I thought you
Yeah.
were just very observant, but you actually read my mind and heard that
Yeah.
I wanted headphones." So, like, I guess props to you for remembering that, but also you kind of like, you weren't paying as good of attention as I thought you were to me.
Yeah.
I was telling you what I wanted without actually
Mhm.
telling you. So
Yeah.
very cute, very funny, and also a sign that Adachi is moving forward this relationship as hard as he can. And like physically, it's not happening all at once, but he is trying to show him that he takes the relationship seriously by buying him gifts. And he does take him out on another first date where they go to a manga store and they have a very like a low key date where they can both be themselves. And Kurosawa thinks, he tells him, this is some of the most fun I've ever had on a date. And he said, yeah, I noticed on the date you planned, it seemed like it was supposed to be all about me. And you should also have fun on a date. It should be about the both of us. So Adachi, even though he's less experienced, he's very empathetic and he is very caring. And so every time he is approached with kind of the next milestone in their relationship, he does a pretty good job at stepping up to
Mhm.
the plate. And buying that birthday present was very sweet. Getting that first date right was very sweet. The first kiss is in this moment in the storage room, right? That's
Mhm.
their
Yeah.
first kiss. And he definitely is pursuing that. And, he's giving just as much into that. And we see that in the next couple episodes as well, that Adachi, even though he's less experienced, is kind of the one who will move the needle forward as far as what needs to happen next.
So we're already like an hour into this, so I'm gonna like blast through. So we had like, I mean, I guess the next couple of episodes are more like you get a little bit more about the second couple, but like for our main couple, this is where Adachi's like potentially getting transferred to this new branch where he goes off and kind of like uses his mind reading powers to help him set up this branch. And he's like not sure originally if he's actually going to go because he realizes he doesn't want to leave Kurosawa. And this is kind of one of those things where it's like, I know we talk a lot about how people read BL because it's kind of like our shot, like the closest we get to like true equality, like seeing that represented in relationships. And this is exactly what we mean in the way that like there was never a question on whether or not like Adachi was going to give up his career for Kurosawa. It was always them trying to figure out how they were going to make it work. Where I feel like in a lot of heteronormative situations, if it were the other way around, Kurosawa's already got the established career. Why doesn't Adachi just quit and let him support him? And it's just like not for a single second is like that a real option for them. And
The other
Kurosawa
thing
would
is
never
that
ask him of that either.
in a straight relationship, there's so much like assumption that if there's distance between us, you'll cheat or I'll cheat. So the other one would have
Mhm.
just moved and been like, I'll move with you. And
Yeah.
Kurosawa doesn't do that either. They both stand firm in the fact that they've had really, big accomplishments in their career. And they're going to do that even if it has to be a long distance relationship. They're not going to give up on their individual selves, which we see
Mhm.
constantly in heteronormative media. So I really love that as well. So, we have this moment where basically Adachi asks for advice from somebody else about whether or not he should take the job. And he almost doesn't take the job. And Kurosawa gets very upset about this and says, don't you think we should have had that decision as a couple? And I would have encouraged you to take the job because I
Mhm.
care more about you than any of these other people. Apparently, I do have your best interests at heart. And you should have asked me because I would have encouraged you. So Adachi goes, and he feels bad for not asking Kurosawa about this. And so he writes him a letter. And in that letter, he confesses his full feelings. And he says, the reason I didn't want to go is because I did not want to leave you. And it's not because I'm afraid that you'll move on from me or I'm afraid we're not serious enough. It's because I sincerely don't like to be apart from you. And
Mhm.
I love you and I need to be around you. And when Kurosawa gets this letter, he races to see him on a flight so that he can hear him say all of those things out loud because all he wants is to have that verbal confirmation that he sees him, he loves him, and this is all reciprocated. So super sweet. He gets to the hotel room and Adachi dries him off, sees that he got all wet from the rain. And then Adachi hears all of these feelings coming from Kurosawa, and he doesn't know how to reciprocate other than doing something he's never done for anybody before, which was showing physical intimacy and physical attraction. And so he kind of makes his first move and he tells Kurosawa, these are all the reasons I love you. And Kurosawa's freaking out and he's like, slow down, say it slower. I want to remember
No,
everything
wait,
you
wait.
said. And Adachi says, I don't need to say it again. I'm going to show you. And he pushes him down on the bed and kisses him. And then we see all the hand gripping and they're kind of like they're grinding up on each other in their little suits and then it fades to black and we know that he's lost his virginity and it's this beautiful moment where that was his choice. He knew he would have to give up his mind reading powers and he knew that if they were ever going to be on equal footing and he could show Kurosawa that he trusts his love for him and that Kurosawa can trust him in return, it would need to be on this equal footing. So he wakes up, loses his powers, and he's no longer a wizard, but that he has lost his virginity And he said that in that moment, losing his virginity, he heard every single one of Kurosawa's thoughts all the way through the interaction, which is so nasty and dirty. I have to read the manga because I'm like, in the manga, Val, can you remember? Kurosawa's just like, oh, it's so warm and tight in this hole. Like, I just
I don't remember. Oh, I
well, I'm
wish
gonna
you would have asked me
cry.
because I would have looked it up to double check.
Oh my God.
Because
I just was like
yeah.
obsessed with that detail that even though he
Oh,
lost
that's
his
so
wizard
funny.
powers, he did in his first time losing his virginity get to hear every complimentary thought, every thirsty little thought that Kurosawa had about him when he was inside him. And I was like, yeah, no, I would take that superpower for a day. Absolutely. Just to hear like the uncensored thoughts about what it was like to be with me. Maybe that makes me narcissistic, but I thought that was so sexy.
I'm trying to remember just by like looking up, but I think the age rating is 18 plus for this. So yeah, like volume 9 has parental advisory, whatever. No, they all do. So yeah, it's been so long. Yeah, I want to say it is.
Oh, I've got to
Yeah.
go buy the manga. That's like one question I usually ask at the end, and it's kind of a no-brainer. I'll absolutely be buying this manga and reading the
Mhm.
entire
Mhm.
series. I'm obsessed with it. So then while that's happening, we have our second couples drama going on, which
Yeah.
is Suge and Minato. Minato is trying to be an idol. Suge is trying to support him without looking like a total stalker, but he always does look like a stalker. He comes with
Literally,
his
he just
camera.
that's what he looks like.
He looks like a stalker. And so he comes with his camera and he's like taking pictures of this dancer everywhere he goes. Even when he's invited, he looks like a creep. At one point, he tries to prove that he's not a stalker by getting up and dancing himself. And he sprains his ankle and his glasses fall off. And that's when Minato sees, oh my gosh, if you just dressed normal and got out of your house more and took these glasses off, you're like actually very hot. And this 10-year age difference, whatever it is, or it's like probably 6 or 8 years, something like that.
I can't
This age
remember.
difference maybe isn't that bad because you're really cute. And Minato is about to give up on his dreams when he calls and tells Suge that basically there's this idol competition. He didn't think he'd win anyways. And he went to a job interview for a normie job. And because he did that, he ran out of gas and he's not going to make it back to the idol competition. And
Mhm.
Suge has this iconic line where he says, I will be your chariot. And Minato is like, "My fucking what? What did you just say, you nerd?" Because
You
he's constantly
nerd.
he's speaking in this, like, old English, like, he's speaking in this romance book language, like, he's speaking in prose all the time. So he
Yeah.
gets on his bike on a very hot, cool motorcycle, by the way, not like everyone else's Vespa. He's, like, on a blue leather, sick ass
Yeah, right?
motorcycle. And he goes and he picks up Minato, and Minato is like grabbing his waist and like snuggling into him. And the whole time, Suge's giving him a pep talk. He's like, you are the best and you're going to win. And I won't let you think any other way. You're the most perfect person for this competition and for this position. And you have to believe in yourself. I believe in you. And Minato is on the back of the motorcycle smiling to himself. And he's getting this, you see his eyes kind of dilate at a point where he really truly takes in what this person says about him. And it raises his confidence. And he's like, wow, your motorcycle is really cool. I kind of thought you were a shut in. And then he gets Minato to where he's going and he falls to the ground and he goes, oh my God, I haven't ridden that motorcycle in years. I was terrified. I almost didn't know how to drive it anymore. And we see that he's willing to come out of his comfort zone,
Mhm.
be that knight in shining armor, even though that's not what he was born for, but he's written it enough times. If he has to embody it to get this man and win his heart, he'll do it. So Minato goes to the competition. He cheers him on. Initially, he is confirmed as the winner of the competition, and Suge admits his feelings for him and says, I've had ulterior motives. I'm not just watching you as a cheerleader. I like you, basically. And Minato doesn't reciprocate right away. And then he gets called by the producer, and we don't know this right away, but he's told that he wasn't the winner of the competition. And we don't hear from him for weeks. And Suge gets ghosted and left on red. And he thinks, I fucked up. I should have never told him that I was anything more than a friend. But I had to
Mhm.
get it out there because that's how I felt. And then he sees an idol debut, and Minato is being debuted as an idol and rushes to support him. And afterwards, Minato gets a gift, and it's a new pair of dancing shoes, which he had been asking for. And Suge left them without a note, and he didn't want any recognition. He just wanted an act of kindness to show how proud he was of this person. And Minato calls him and says, I know you left the shoes. Tell me exactly where you're at. And he
Mhm.
sprints to him. And this is, like, so freaking cute. I love the side couple, and I'm telling you, in the
Yeah.
live action, it's, like, even cuter, and in the live
Okay.
action, you're gonna love it because, like, Minato dances, and he's, like, not that good at dancing as an actor. But
Why do they
Tsuge
always do this to these men? Why do they always oh my god.
and Tsuge is his acting is unbelievable. He's, like, literally watching him with binoculars and is acting like it's the best dancing he's ever seen in his life. So he rushes out to him and says, "I got these shoes. Thank you so much for these shoes." And about what you said to me, I had to take some time to process it. I didn't know what you meant by ulterior motives. I knew I had feelings for you too, and I had to let them settle in. At the same time, I was called in for the Secret Idol debut that was going to take a couple weeks, and it needed absolute secrecy, so I could not tell you about it. I
Mhm.
should have replied you. I should not have ghosted you. I just didn't know how to bridge the gap between us being friends and us feeling something more than that. And when you came to support me anyways, regardless of how I had treated you, it reminded me why I need you so much in my life. And this is why I love an age gap sometimes because the
I looked
less
it up and
mature
it is roughly 10. It's
roughly 10.
yeah.
Is he 20? That makes him 20,
Yeah, that
which
makes
is
them
very
20.
young. I think it's like
Yes.
the age of consent in these countries. So is very, or the age of adulthood. It is
Adulthood
very,
technically, yeah.
yeah, but it is very sweet to me to see the older character trying to mentor in a way without pushing those boundaries and try to like even financially support by buying those shoes and do things like that. That's what an age gap is for. I don't feel
Mhm.
like this age gap is inappropriate at all. In fact, I love that Minato looks around him and is like, yeah, my other options are a bunch of loser 20-year-olds who are all trying to be idols
Mm.
or an accomplished published author who is extremely smooth and kind to me and supportive. And while he's nerdy, also very handsome, he's there for me.
Secret
He's a secret hottie and he's there for me even when I don't ask him to be there for me. This
Mhm.
person is good for me and this
Yeah.
person wants to take care of me and they deserve somebody who feels the same way about them and not because I'm using him or whatever, but I sincerely feel this way back towards
Yeah.
this man. And I thought that dynamic was so adorable. So we get their happy ending. We get both of them. No. Okay. So he has not. So they hug. They do
Yeah.
not even kiss. They
Right.
hug at this point, the side couple. And then we
Yeah.
flash back to Kurosawa and Adachi and take us
Right.
kind of from there.
Well, so we kind of already jumped ahead, right? Because episode 12 is Adachi waking up being like, "Oh, we did it." And then he's
Mhm.
like, "Oh, I can't read his thoughts." And Adachi is like reassuring him like, "Oh, I don't regret it." Like, whatever. And there's kind of this moment where he and Kurosawa are like hugging and he is soaking in the fact that he can't hear anything and it's so quiet. But he also has this realization moment where he's like, I don't need to hear his thoughts to know what he's thinking. And it was kind of that like it was that moment for him where he's like, okay, I'm so grateful for what the powers gave me. And it wasn't just like the insights into Kurosawa's mind, but kind of like the confidence to like put himself out there and get close enough to someone that he doesn't need to read their thoughts in order to know what they're thinking and feeling.
It was very adorable. And I don't know. There's a couple times in this story where I was like, is Adachi a little bit autistic? And at this point, he has learned these social cues through
Mm-hmm.
Kurosawa. And he says, like, I wish I knew what you were thinking. And Kurosawa says out loud to him, I bet you do know what I'm thinking. What am I thinking? And picture comes to his mind of them hugging. And it's like this social cue
Mm-hmm.
that maybe with other people in the past, he wasn't able to like, he didn't have the confidence to be like, oh, this girl wants to hug me. Now he has this confidence of like, oh, I do know what you're thinking. You want to hug me right now because I'm so huggable and I'm so lovable and I'm so confident in the fact that you love me that of course I know what you want right now is a little hug. And that is so reassuring and sweet and such a good closure moment because yet again, the sex was there and the spice was there, but we returned to this kind of deeper intimacy, which is knowing each other's hearts. And that is really sweet.
Right. And it's that point that he like feels comfortable and he's like, okay, I will take the job transfer. So then after like obviously they get up and cook breakfast and everything else and they kind of like split and he's like taking photos at the job site and he's doing all the job stuff. And then, there are some issues and then those issues get kind of like escalated to the main office. And now that Kurosawa's back in the office, he like hears that he's struggling. And so they have both in their own respective areas where they're at, they have this moment where they're like, I gotta see him. And so it's kind of one of those like, oh, they both rushed to the airport at the same time, but I think it was like the train station or something. And so they make that connection and they admit to like missing each other. And then Adachi's like, let's move in together. And Kurosawa's like, you always know what I'm thinking. And he like kneels down and he pulls out the rings.
So few anime we get like this perfect ending, and this is such a perfect
Hmm.
ending because yes, they both like propose to each other at the same time, one to live together, one to be together forever.
Yeah.
And it is so dang sweet.
So then we don't like get much more after that because again, I think the anime covers up to like volume 5, 6, 7. They like pulled a bunch of different stuff from those different volumes. And again, the manga goes up to 16. I think I have up to 12 or 13. And so it kind of like cuts really quick to make sure that the anime watchers get the closure they need without necessarily needing that second season. And so we see them wearing their rings in the office. We see the Fujoshi at their wedding. We see, like they move in together. They live. It's kind of like, all right, yeah, happily ever after, everything's buttoned up. And so it was, again, even though it's one season, it felt fully complete. And that's why even after like reading and watching up to like a certain point, I'm like, oh, this series is done. And I think it was like volume 10 or 11 for me that I was like, wow, that was a really good series. I enjoyed that. And then I was shocked to know that there were more volumes still being released. But we do get more into, I think, the side couple in the next couple of volumes.
Because at the end of this season, we have Suge helping Adachi pack up his belongings to move in with Kurosawa, and they touch hands. And Adachi's thinking, should I tell him I lost my wizard powers? Suge's like, you lost your wizard powers?
Anyway,
And I won't ask you for the details, but good for you. And then
yeah.
we see Suge later on thinking to himself, like, maybe I should make the move and have sex with Minato. And then he's thinking, I don't want to, I do not know if I'm okay with losing my powers. And so we think this
Still
character.
not that moment of like, oh, that ready acceptance where Adachi like did.
And also, he's a writer, so maybe he is just like a little bit more, maybe it's a little more advantageous for him to know what other people are thinking because he can do a little bit of research on the internal lives of people and is going to have to take, second place to being intimate with Minato,
Yeah.
So I am definitely going to finish it. I'm going to read the manga and see where that goes because I think in the live action as well, I do think that they have a moment where it's more than hugging. I think they like make out in the apartment, but I don't think they close the deal. So it would be fun for me to read the manga and get to that place where Suge and Minato actually fuck.
Yeah.
So that's our whole series. I think we're both like 5 out of 5 would recommend without hesitation to anyone, right?
Yes, 100%.
Who is your delusional boyfriend from Cherry Magic?
It's Kurosawa.
It's Kurosawa.
He's a little beefcake, and he wants to be beefy for his little crush. And it's also like you know how I feel about simps.
Absolutely. I was very close to choosing Suge because he is so romantic and like he tries so hard. He goes out of his comfort zone. But if I'm being like super honest and crass, Suge is going to like be a one pump chomp. Honey is basically busting in his pants every time he sees this man dance. So no. But Kurosawa, on the other hand, like you said, he's been training for the moment where he gets to show Adachi Heaven's Gates. So I love Kurosawa. He is handsome. He is smart. He's accomplished. He's considerate. He is dirty-minded. He is all the things in a man that I want. Yeah, I want a man who, like, once you say it's on, like, come and get me, they're racing through the house. And there's even a moment where he grabs Adachi and he says, now that I have him, I'm never letting go. And Adachi like gets a little bit freaked out and he has to back off. But that feral hunger, that attraction for someone that like cannot be severed, a simp, I love it. I'm always fucking here for it. He's gone on dates with other girls. He's admitted he's not loved another person. And whatever his sexuality is, whether that's like bisexuality or he was really gay or he's like demisexual and he's just obsessed with one fucking person and that's it. And Adachi's the only one who's ever done it for him. Whatever that is, whatever those symptoms are, that's exactly what I'm looking for in a man. And that's he's perfect.
No
would you date him IRL? Hands down.
100%.
1,000. So
no, there's not even a beige flag. Like it's only green.
It's only green. And like all of that being said, I still think he's super dirty in bed. So like sometimes with green flags, I'm just like, you're too respectful. You wouldn't even like choke me out if I wanted you to. No, Kurosawa was like waiting for his moment to lick all those moles and to like get Adachi's permission to take this shit really far. So I'm obsessed with Kurosawa. And I
Yes.
would say as far as, like, how he ranks with my other anime boyfriends,
Mm.
right up there with Victor Nikiforov, all of my favorites. So,
Oh,
absolutely
absolutely.
fucking love Kurosawa. He is perfect. He is just a perfect man. That's one fun thing about this whole thing is that
Mhm.
he is a perfect man through and through, even when that is a little bit annoying to himself.
Yeah.
He is still always a perfect man. So, it couldn't be anyone but him. So, I
Mhm.
think that's, like, all of the questions for this other than will you join me for a bonus episode on the live action when we
Yeah,
find the time?
of course.
Amazing. Oh, well, I just want to say thank you guys so much for listening. And I hope that you're having fun doing more BL anime this year. I know we're going to run out at some point because it's such a small minority of the anime available. But while we can, I'm going to keep like digging into all of the BL series that we can find. And I'm really happy to start January with Cherry Magic
Mhm.
because this is one of both of our favorites. And for everyone listening out there, if you're just listening to this in the background and you're usually here for the novel episodes, this is an anime too. This is the gateway anime to get into anime.
Mhm.
It's adorably drawn. The soundtrack is very cute. The opening intro is very cute. It's only 12 episodes, so watch it. And if you guys are excited about next month's anime, do you know what it is, Val?
I always wait to have you tell me, even though I like have it all saved, and I'm like, oh, I can just look it up whenever. But I always like to have you say it so that I can be either like surprised or be like, oh my
I
god, I've
think
already
this
seen it.
is one you told me you have not seen, even though
Ooh.
it's like a classic. February's BL anime of the month is Junjo Romantica.
I haven't seen it. Okay, you're right. It's always like those weird, like classic ones where I'm like, oh, I've never seen Banana Fish. Like, oh, I've never seen Classmates.
And you
And so this is
definitely
one of
never
those.
watched Romantica because people
Mm-mm.
have some extreme issues with it. And I'll
Okay.
just give
Okay.
everybody a warning right now. It is an age gap romance between a freshman in college and his brother's best friend, who is a professor at that college. It is
Mm-hmm.
age gap, it's power dynamic, it's very forceful. It is, I'm living with you, so you kind of owe me situation. It is
Okay.
really problematic. And I love it, to be honest. I love it. I think it's a really fun series. It is so problematic, but I was just that girl at 18 who wanted to fuck my professors. And thank God I found an age appropriate man, but
You know what?
still that like,
This one was too green anyway. What are we gonna do? We're gonna throw it from 100 straight and drive to immediately thrust it into reverse and go right back into red flags. Perfect.
you,
Speaking of red flags, you've
uh-huh.
also got Painter of the Night for your manhwa for February as well.
I'm so excited about that. If you guys follow Buff Fujoshi, she is going to join me for the manhwa. Our other series for February are going to be Funny Story by Emily Henry, which is the first book I read by her. I just watched the movie People We Meet on Vacation. So if you're into rom-coms, definitely join us for a romance novel. And then let's see.
The live
Oh, the
action is 10 Things I Do Before I Turn 40, which I've read the manga of, and it's like green flaggy, and it's like very like if you liked Cherry Magic, you're gonna like 10 Things I Do Before I Turn 40. So definitely like go read that manga. But then I'm also like, wait, should I watch the live action too? So
absolutely. Will you join me for things I do?
hell yeah.
Okay, fuck yeah. So I will try to read the manga before that so we can do a little bit of a comparison during the live
Ooh,
action. That will be
okay.
really fun for me. I've got the manga sitting right over there and I have not read it yet, but I will say last year, 10 Things to Do Before I Turned 40 was on everybody's TBR and tons of people were reviewing it. So if you guys are interested in, again, one of those fandom favorites, that is a live action that we're going to be covering, but you can absolutely do extra homework and read the manga with us if you want to. And thank you all so much for being here, for joining us. This year is going to be so much fun. I'm already having such a fantastic time. Thank you for sticking with me in year one when I was figuring out how to podcast, because now we're really like getting into the meat of it. I feel like the quality is good and I just appreciate your listenership so much. If you haven't already, turn on auto downloads just so when we do our bonus episode on like the Cherry Magic live action, it's immediately delivered to your inbox. It also helps out the podcast so much to see those downloads. So turn on auto downloads, go subscribe to our YouTube, and follow us on TikTok and Instagram, Delusional Boyfriend Book Club or Delusional BF Book Club everywhere. Follow Val at Girls Gaze Animes and Girls Games Animes. Will you do your handles for me?
It's girls gays animes, girls games animes is spelled like GAYMES for girls games if you're interested in like gay games. Everything else is just girls gays animes everywhere. Podcast
And
platforms, YouTube's, social medias everywhere.
and hopefully we will be doing some playthroughs. I am not a like huge video game player, and by that I mean I don't know how to and I cannot play them. I'm like physically unable. But the games that Val is showing me, if you're not familiar, they're like a lot of times these dating sims where you get to go around and court multiple characters and choose who you want to date. And it's really fun and really in line with like the romance media that we're already consuming. So if you're interested, definitely check out Girls Games Animes and look on our socials for any time we're going to be collaborating in the future. And if you don't see us there, you'll definitely see us in February for Junjo Romantica. I hope to see you guys there. Thank you so much. And until next time, remember, sometimes the delusion
Is the solution.
Bye.